kindly mute your phone so that we don't have those distractions. We thank you, and let's sit through and listen to the presentation.
Okay.
Doc, please,
you ready?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Francis. Good morning, distinguished guests, colleagues, members of the media, development partners, representatives of the business community, academia, civil society, and all stakeholders who are joining us today. Today, the Ghana Statistical Service is releasing two very important publications under the Integrated Business Establishment Survey 1, what we usually refer to as IBES I. These publications focus on 1, mobile businesses, and 2, open space businesses operating across Ghana. One may ask, why does this matter? It matters because these businesses are everywhere around us. They are the traders selling food and household goods along streets and in neighborhoods, and they are the vendors moving through traffic, communities, selling goods directly to consumers. Yet for many years, these businesses were visible in daily life, but largely invisible in official statistics. IBES I changes that. For the first time, Ghana's economic census, which is what we refer to as IBES I, systematically measured businesses in fixed structures, businesses in open spaces, and businesses that operate while in motion. This work strengthens our understanding of the informal economy, which powers many local economies and provides livelihood for millions of people in Ghana. It also contributes to monitoring progress towards key sustainable development goals. More specifically, we are talking about SDG 1, which is on poverty, which basically advocates for no poverty. And then SDG 8, which is on decent work and economic growth, and SDG 11, which is on sustainable cities and communities. By measuring these businesses, we strengthen the evidence needed to design policies that support jobs, entrepreneurship, and inclusive growth. Ladies and gentlemen, before we look at the numbers, it's important to explain what we mean by mobile businesses and open space businesses. A mobile business is a business that does not operate from a fixed location. Instead, it operates while moving. And this can include hawkers selling goods in traffic, traders carrying goods on their heads, vendors using carts, bicycles, or motor-bicycles, and traders operating from vans or small vehicles. In simple terms, these are businesses that move to where the customers are. An open space business, on the other hand, operates from a fixed location, but not inside a building. These businesses operate in places such as pavements, roadside stalls, areas around markets, and open trading spaces within communities. Unlike shops and buildings, these businesses are directly exposed to weather conditions. Understanding these distinctions helps us measure economic activity more accurately. Now, before we delve into the key results, let me explain how the survey was conducted. The Integrated Business Establishment Survey, or IBES I, is Ghana's national economic census of businesses. The entire country was divided into 10,240 enumeration zones based on data from the 2021 Population and Housing Census. Enumerators systematically visited each zone to identify and collect information on businesses. For open businesses, enumerators walked through streets, lanes, and market areas to identify businesses operating outside structures. For mobile businesses, we adopted a special approach. And what did we do? Before the survey began, hotspots where mobile businesses operated were identified across the country. These hotspots were validated and enumerated during peak periods to capture mobile business operators. Data collection was conducted using tablet-based digital interviews, what we refer to as computer-assisted personal interviewing, or CAPI for short. This allowed the Ghana Statistical Service to monitor data quality in real time and ensure high quality or high levels of accuracy. Now, this rigorous methodology adapted ensures that the statistics we are presenting today are credible, reliable, and nationally representative. Let's jump into the key findings. We'd like to start with the national business landscape. The survey identified 2.64 million businesses operating in Ghana. These, let me say the census, because we have to enumerate all businesses. So it identified 2.64 million businesses operating in Ghana. And these businesses fall into three main categories. First, we recorded 1.87 million, or 70.6%, operating in fixed structures, what we usually refer to as establishments. And this will include establishments such as shops, offices, and factories. Second, we recorded 693,748 businesses operating in open spaces, and this represented 26.2% of the businesses. And third, we also enumerated 82,920 mobile businesses operating while in motion, and this represented 3.1%. Now, this tells us something very, very important. Businesses outside the traditional structures, which is what we refer to as the establishment, represent a significant part of Ghana's economic landscape. So it means that understanding them is therefore very essential for designing effective economic and social policies. Let me now take the findings on mobile businesses. We identified 82,920 mobile business operators nationwide. One striking finding is that mobile training is dominated by women. In fact, women accounted for 77.5% of the mobile operators. So in other words, we had 64,237 operators who were women operating mobile businesses. This tells us that mobile trading plays a very critical role in women's economic participation and household livelihoods. Mobile businesses or mobile business operators are also predominantly Ghanaian, accounting for 94.2% of all operators. So you have almost 5,000 non-Ghanaians, or 6%, operating mobile businesses. We also recorded higher proportions of mobile businesses operated by non-Ghanaians in regions bordering other countries. And these are Upper West region, 15%, Volta region, 10.7%, Northeast, 10.4%, and Northern, 10.1%. So in other words, even though you have fewer mobile operators who are non-Ghanaians, you will largely find these non-Ghanaians operating around our borders, the regions that are around the borders. Another important insight is that mobile businesses are youth-driven. In fact, more than 6 in every 10 operators, which is around 60%, are aged between 15 and 35 years. This shows that mobile trading is an important entry point into entrepreneurship and employment for the youth or for young people. But the data reveal a very important concern. We identified about 2,087 children aged 10 to 14 years engaged in mobile businesses, with girls representing about 80% of these working children. This highlights the importance of strengthening child protection policies and ensuring that children remain in school. Mobile trading activities are also predominantly goods-oriented. About 85% of mobile businesses sell goods, while about 15% provide services. Retail sale of food dominates mobile trading, accounting for about 64% of activities. This reflects the important role mobile traders play in bringing food directly to consumers. We also recorded that 3 in every 4, or 75% of female mobile businesses or business operators are engaged in retail sale of food, compared to about 1/4 or 26% of male operators. In terms of working hours, more than 1/3 of mobile traders work at least 9 hours per day. Despite these long hours, earnings remain modest. About 57% of mobile business operators earn less than 100 Ghana cedis per day. This highlights both the resilience of these businesses and the economic constraints they face. In terms of product ownership, about 80% of mobile businesses own the products. And we saw more than 80% of working children are engaged by others. Let's turn to the key findings with regards to open space businesses. We identified 693,748. That's almost 700,000 businesses operating in open spaces across Ghana, with more than 2/3, or 68.4%, engaged in retail sale of food and beverages. Now, these 700,000 or so open space businesses engaged over 922,000 people nationwide. In other words, they employed over 900,000 people nationwide. Once again, women play a central role here. Nearly 80% of workers in the open space businesses are women, and 84% of business owners are women. Ownership of open space business is overwhelmingly Ghanaian. So here, we recorded about 99.2% of these businesses being owned by Ghanaians. This demonstrates the strong contribution of domestic entrepreneurship to Ghana's economy. We also found that open space businesses are heavily concentrated in retail trade. In fact, about 68.4% sell food and beverages, while others sell non-food items or provide services. Again, goods-oriented open space businesses dominate, comprising some 84% of all businesses, while service-oriented open space businesses account for the remaining 16%. Just like the mobile businesses, open space business also show remarkable resilience. We documented about 64% operate at least 6 days per week, and nearly half operate for more than 49 hours per week. However, we saw that earnings vary widely. About 31% earn 100 Ghana cedis or less per day, while 21% earn at least 500 Ghana cedis per day. Open space businesses have been in operation for an average of 73 months. That's approximately 6 years. We also found that there are wide regional disparities in the operation of open space businesses. One, more than half of open space businesses are actually operating from fixed locations from 3 main regions, namely Greater Accra, that's about 24%, Ashanti region, about 17%, and Central region, about 11%. If you put these 3 regions together, the open space businesses in the country, they constitute more than half, a little over half. Again, in 5 regions, we saw open space businesses have operated longer than the national average. And these 5 regions are the Eastern region, where businesses have operated for like 82 months, Bono East region, 81 months, Ahafo region, 80 months, Upper East region, 80 months, Greater Accra region, 78 months. Now, going through the findings of mobile businesses and open space businesses, a pattern emerges. Number 1, both sectors are dominated by women. Number 2, both sectors are driven by youth entrepreneurship. Number 3, both sectors are concentrated in retail trade, particularly food. And number 4, they are characterized by long working hours with modest earnings. These businesses are therefore critical for livelihoods, especially for women and young people. They also play a very important role in bringing goods closer to households and to our communities. So one may ask, what are the key drivers of these businesses? Several factors appear to drive the growth of mobile and open space businesses. First, low entry barriers, as many of these businesses require relatively small startup capital to start business. Second, proximity to customers. These businesses usually operate close to where people live, where people work, or where they travel. And third, urbanization and population growth, which would usually increase demand for convenient retail services. And fourth, flexibility, as mobile and open space businesses allow entrepreneurs to adapt quickly to market demand. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the key takeaways from the survey findings from the open space and mobile businesses census? From the 2024 IBES I, we see that Ghana's economy is powered by 2.64 million formal and informal businesses across 3 segments. 1.87 million establishments, making up about 71%, are operating in fixed structures. That's what we refer to as establishments. Then we have about 700,000 open space businesses which constitutes about 26%. And then we have about 83,000 mobile businesses, which constitutes about 3.3%. The bottom line here is that mobile and open space businesses are not marginal at all in the country, because we are talking around 30% of all businesses. Together, they provide jobs, they provide some income, and access to goods for millions of Ghanaians, especially women and youth, while strengthening local economies across the country. Let's look at the key takeaways with regards to open space businesses. First, open space businesses operate at scale across the country. Now, nearly 700,000 businesses operate in open spaces, employing over 922,000 people nationwide, making them a major pillar of the informal sector. Second, we see that women dominate both ownership and employment. In fact, women account for 80% of workers and 84% of business owners, positioning open space business or businesses as a key driver of women's economic empowerment. Third, local ownership is near universal. In fact, about 99.2% of open space businesses are Ghanaian owned, underscoring their role in domestic enterprises and also community-based economic growth. Fourth, we see that food trade anchors the sector. Over 68.4% of businesses sell food and beverages, making open space businesses essential for household food access and daily commerce. And five, business cluster in major commercial regions. In fact, more than 51% of open space businesses are located in Greater Accra, Ashanti region, and Central region, reflecting the strong links to urban demand and market activity. And set but not the least, we see high effort from the businesses, but the returns are uneven. About 63.7% operate at least 6 days a week. And we see many work for long hours. Yet we have 31.3% who are earning around 100 Ghana cedis or less daily, while 21% earn at least 500 Ghana cedis, highlighting both resilience and income inequality within the sector. Let's look at the key takeaways regarding mobile businesses. Mobile businesses are a significant source of livelihoods in Ghana. We have about 83,000 mobile business operators nationwide, confirming mobile trade as an important part of everyday economic activity. Secondly, women drive mobile trading, as females account for about 64,237 operators. That's about 78%, making mobile businesses one of the strongest channels for women's income generation and economic participation. The sector is overwhelmingly Ghanaian, with cross-border presence. We see that about 94% of operators are Ghanaian, while the remaining 6%, which is about 5,000 non-Ghanaian, are active, especially in the border regions, highlighting both local dominance as well as regional trade linkages. With regards to mobile businesses, activity is concentrated in two key economic regions. We see mobile businesses are heavily clustered around Greater Accra. That's about 30.1%, and Ashanti region about 20.3%. If you put the two together, we are talking about only Greater Accra and Ashanti region housing 50% of all the mobile businesses in the country, reflecting strong demand in high-density urban markets. 5, mobile trading is powered by the youth, just like in the open space businesses. In fact, we registered more than 50,500 operators, which is about 60%, aged between 15 to 34 years, making mobile business a major entry point into work and entrepreneurship for young people. But like I said earlier, child participation highlights a protection concern. About 2,087 children who are aged between 10 and 14 years are engaged in mobile businesses, with about 80% of them being girls, pointing to risks of child labor and the need for stronger school retention and protection measures. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I come to the recommendations, one may ask, what are the main key policy implications of these findings? In fact, I would say that the findings highlight both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, these businesses provide jobs and income for hundreds of thousands of Ghanaians. Let me say of people, because some of them are non-Ghanaians. On the other hand, many operators face challenges such as limited access to finance, exposure to weather conditions and environmental risks, limited infrastructure, and unstable earnings. Addressing these challenges can significantly improve livelihoods and productivity. With these findings and policy implications, and based on the evidence, several practical actions emerge. First, government and local authorities should invest in market infrastructure, sanitation, lighting, and storage facilities. Second, financial institutions should expand microcredit, mobile banking, and digital payment solutions tailored to small, informal businesses. Third, training programs should strengthen business management, financial literacy, and digital skills among informal entrepreneurs. Fourth, youth entrepreneurship programs should support young traders transitioning into more stable businesses. And at the same time, child labor laws must be enforced, and social protection programs should support families to ensure children remain in school. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, I would like to express sincere appreciation to the many people and institutions who made this work possible. First, we thank the business owners and operators across Ghana who generously provided information for the survey or for the census. We also thank our dedicated field officers who work tirelessly across the country to collect data. I commend the staff of the Ghana Statistical Service whose professionalism and commitment made this work possible. We also appreciate the government of Ghana and the World Bank for their financial support, as well as the ministries, departments, and agencies, and the technical committee that collaborated with us throughout the survey process. The media is also recognized for assisting with dissemination at all times. The Ghana Statistical Service remains fully committed to producing timely, accurate, relevant, and credible statistics. As we know, reliable data are essential for evidence-based decision-making, effective policy-making, and sustainable national development. Through initiatives like IBES, we will continue to strengthen Ghana's statistical system and ensure that no part of our economy remains invisible in the data. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alassane Adrisu, for the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have received the reports and the estimates from the IBES I on business, open mobile businesses and open space businesses. We want to open the floor for questions. So if you have any question, please raise your hand. And whilst we wait for the questions, I want to acknowledge the presence and the support of the Deputy Government Statistician, Alhaji Umar, and the Director for Businesses, Industry and Trade and Service, under whose directorship this report has been made, Dr. Owusu-Keja. So we open the floor for your questions. If you have any question, please raise your hand and we'll bring the mic. We'll give you the mic to pose it. Oh, we are okay. That means good. So there's a hand up.
Okay.
Hi, my name is... Hello. Amai is a Kofi J, Joy News Research. I think we are really grateful that now we can have such data for informed decision making. And I want to commend the Ghana Statistical Service for this census, not just about people, but also about data. But I have a question on whether we have data on businesses that operate both open space and mobile.
Okay, we'll take some more questions. So the question is whether you have businesses that operate both. In other words, they are moving around at the same time. They are in fixed structures, which are open space. Okay, we'll provide answer to you.
Okay,
Yes.
My name is Osei with the Business Desk, Joy News. I wanted to find out if you can tell us, that's if you have the numbers to it, the GDP contribution of both open space and also the mobile businesses.
Okay.
There's a hand at the back here.
Hi, I'm Juliet Tepe with the Business and Financial Times.
Okay.
I want to know if the children that have been captured in here, if their educational status is being captured by the data as well. The educational status.
Educational
Yeah.
status, okay. All right. Yes.
So, Doc, do these children also work predominantly during school period? Did you observe that and the implication?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Statistician, please, my attention has been drawn to the
Yes.
fact that
Yeah.
accounts speaking
Oh, we didn't
stations are not
yes.
posing questions because we've not done the.
Oh, they
Yeah,
can't
so
yet. So we should
please, if
do
you
very
can
quickly.
do a brief for them on the takeaway, then
All right.
they can pose their questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's see how we can do chi on business enterprises. You in your numna adofo and pay Ghana Statistical Service ye share ya na ye ne one ye pede ye ne one twetwe nkomo kakra efa edwuma bi a ye kokenkan ndwuma wo Ghana ha na dem edwuma ne ye in 2024 aya ye wo term bi a you use a friend IBES Integrated Business Establishment Survey ye ko round edwuma bia wo ye wo Ghana ha bia no ye fa ho konta na ya calculate na ye hu ye bisa questions enti 2024 ye dem nhwehwemu yi wa mayen fundings bi bebre na ye pede ye share ana ye pede ye beto wo nyina wo enim na adentia ye pede ye de to wo enim ne there usually ye dem say there or implications na oma ye nzama or there ye as government, as businesses, as householder, obama yetumpong bebre. Enti first of all, ejumana ye ne trade 2024 ye call around ye kan kane njuma or Ghana han. Na njuma no Ningina ye 2.64 million. Million no ye pepe nana. 2.64 or million. Okay. Out of the 2.64 million in Jumana or Ghana, Yehunde 1.87 million. Ye in Juma aya what operates were fixed structures. Fixed structures their businesses no in denim and structures him into where 1.87 million. Now, in fact, earlier, Ghana Statistical Service, your publications on and off them 1.87 million you want to. But in the Juma, you bet to win any or ye related more to the second type of categorization I maybe can once me. First one, on any open space businesses. A year in Juma, what we're gonna have. Once we fixed structures and our structures are were fixed, but them structures, were very open. Maybe a obiton baby, but okita umbrella friend and wo. Chin, na why another what tent be na all your Juma no ho. Even though a Juma is fixed, but structure no. On your very structured structure. Now, Damin Jumano, when you know you're 693,748,000. In fact, you're pede, you're born, Pola, you're back at 700,000 businesses. In the third one you're finding mobile businesses. The mobile businesses are I want one baby bako, one nam. No what in zama. Inti, for example, a behunde obisia ekutu no the nam or ton. Another obisia pure water. Ana obi kita truck. Now ochi no the tunton zama. Into them businesses your friend one mobile businesses. I want to know you buy 83,000. Into 2024, a Juma year of businesses, them numbers see no over out. And with there, you were 10 year your friend with GDP, gross domestic product. Only a M9 you release the latest GDP figures. Into GDP a card there or your goods and services are you produce our country no you can boma on your friend GDP. Now, largely GDP, you calculate, you the information microphone. Largely one our formal sector no capture. Even in the informal sector, you now capture. But a Juma since here 1 million numbers with regards to I wanna open business. And now I want to where involved in mobile business. On each other, city you them data no. Into the next round of GDP rebasing, or by inform them exercise. Now, young shade yeba mobile businesses now. Aba nzama aba finding spots in your home. Into Mecca, in some bay 3 or 4 be mobile business. I wanna was stress and nzama do ton and I will engineer baby back. Business I won't engineer baby back on. You who there? Them businesses, in fact, aya oma nkofu bebre eduma no ma nkofu bebre scaso because you who there about 82,920 of them operate nationwide. Means when we count that done by 83,000. You born polar. But you who so there? Most of them were in fact about 73% of one were engaged in their mobile business operations. About 78% of them were in bar. More specifically, about 64,237. Now, number 3, I want to wear the main Ejuman. About 94% of them were Ghanaians. In terms of the Ejuman or Ghana, no way in baby. In fact, 6% now were non-Ghanaians, but those 6%, the major man away, no, I away border regions. Into Yerika, border regions, Burkina, regions are or close to Burkina Faso, regional or close to Togo. No, more count. Now, number 4, Yahoo today. You heard them businesses here, where mobile business. You hear, Bayer 2 regions. You have Greater Accra, near Ashanti region. Them 2 regions, only your 16 regions were Ghana. If a Greater Accra and Ashanti region, them 2 regions in Kutin, worth about 50% of all the mobile businesses. In terms of mobile business, now about Chemfa, well, Accra and Greater Accra and Greater Accra and Ashanti region in Kutin, 2 regions out of 16 regions. Now, finally, so Yahunde, the major man, I want to wire the youth. I want to wire the major man. In fact, about 60% were youth. But Yahun Bibi so no ha John Kakra. Yahunde about 2,087 Nkola and our children. One age. Age is what? One in fear. Or between 10 to 14 years. Where them mobile business, that's about over 2,000. That's about 2,087. In Taifa, them in Kodewo school, 10 to 14 years. That's a very mobile business, no, a concern in Kakra. Now, young open space business. Open space business, so you're on Sembe 4 and 5 beer. Young you pay to be an name. Now, made the canal kade, them open space businesses, where you buy about 700,000. What country, 2024 year, them survey, or them census. Now, them 700,000 open space businesses will employ about 922,000 people. Again, Yahunde Mba na what dominate them open space businesses. In fact, about 80% Mba na way the human. Near ownership so Yahunde about 84% of them Ejumano Mba one Ejuma. In other words, they own it. Now, I have to Yahunde almost all the open space businesses, Ghanaians, one businesses. In fact, I have 99.2%. About 99.2% of the 700,000 businesses, not Ghanaians, no own. Now, Obe beside Aba Nzamanaya, them open space business, what on? Yahunde what on? Largely food items and other beverages. Ebia, what on? Beverage, like Blue Skies, one drink EB, and Wariton, orange juice, etc., etc. Now, Yahoo, so the EFA, them open space businesses here, just like in the mobile businesses, you have 3 regions. Ahayeka Central Region, Greater Accra, and Ashanti, will constitute more than half of those open space businesses. Now, finally, so you wonder, yes, in Crawford, the main Jumei, but was spent hours. No, what do you but usually one average earnings a day, Umunya bay 100 Ghana cedis pay. But you were in Crawford, or Wutiminya bay 500 Ghana cedis. Until one day was spent so much time, but earnings no only the same, on your equal. Until, ladies and gentlemen, them findings see, and them them findings see na yehuya yede to one enim. Nti Eric Kade say if these are the findings no about no other year yebetim they aboa oman Ghana with regards to these findings. First, now you need data with regards to these mobile businesses. Now open space business, but this year data no waba Ghana Statistical Service. I Juma with Nikki partners, my team, any of them data. These are them data now. Abad no de ye ya. Obetim abua oman Ghana. Ntereka de aban na local authorities. Yen district assemblies and the authorities at the local level. Yes, yen abananhwe na uninvest in market infrastructure so that yetim bobo stores na nzema mankrofa structures no obey more decent. Na yen provide good sanitation. They make sure the storage facilities were on, lighting provisions are also made. Now finally, Nkrofi wodoso kakra because say one away your mobile businesses, now one away your open businesses. You can win in a boom. That's why you pay 800,000 or more around that, getting to 1 million. Now say them you mean away no not financial institutions today, banks and even non-bank financial institutions. Or they wash now what develop solutions here. The moon coffee so bit may use to be. Inti other wash now where microcredits and now where mobile banking and now where digital payment systems. Not the moon coffee so won't mean use to be. So that you better modernize them ejuma coffee way. But young there, most of them coffee way the major may no was on your youth. Inti obey ye pa there and obey fine there. Ye be my one training, specific training, and what be upgrade ejuma na. And here, Yerika financial literacy. Yen children means no way a bank juman and zama. Na yen children means ma digital skills. We may use computer na mobile phone. Dia boy won juman na moke keka home. Na Yerika so there. I'm going to there by Kwalabe 2000. Where the major may age between 10 years and 14 years. Ususwa. All that things being a concord, there was school, but worry the major may be. In Ghana, you share labor laws, no, they enforce so that Nkwala, Nkwala around this age, and what I have child labor, were brofum. Yan shema won't go school ye. Into ha, Yabeka day, a ban, na civil society institutions, organizations, na donors will be a young boy, na the Munkola Yentim provide the key environment for them to be in school. Until ladies and gentlemen, in summer, Yadibetu when with regards to open business, now mobile businesses from Juma year 2024, thank you very much.
Question until we answer the first set of questions, then we come.
Unfortunately, I say I have very excellent or experts around me. The questions came in English, so let me revert to English. I have my excellent team around me here who would provide some of the answers, especially the ones that relate specifically to survey questions. But I want to give a generic answer. So when we do a survey or we do a census, and we come and present the results, we are able to present the results to you to the extent that our questionnaire captures the areas that you are asking. So if, for example, the questionnaire did not capture such an area, unfortunately, we will not be able to provide you with that response. So for example, we had a question as to whether we had enterprises or establishments, or businesses that did both mobile business and open space business. So I would defer to my colleagues as to whether we pose such a question, as to whether, we're able to pose a question as to whether the business should indicate to us whether they did both open and then mobile. If we have such a question, we'll be able to give you the answer. I will defer to my technical team to answer that. Secondly, there was a question on, so please, you can get ready for that. There was a question on GDP. I'll take the ones I will respond directly and then we'll come back to you. There was a question on GDP as to how this will inform the GDP. And I think I answered that when I was presenting the findings in Chi, but let me say it in English. So currently, we have our GDP compilation, which is based on administrative data we collect from various institutions, etc. We are able to give some information on informal, goods and services in the country. We're able to do that. But we are not able to do that comprehensively, and it's just an estimate. Now that we have done this census of businesses, and we're able to put a handle or our hands on the number of businesses that are operating as mobile businesses, and the number of businesses that are operating under open spaces with specific figures. We now have more clarity, we have specific data, and that will inform the next round of the rebasing, GDP rebasing that we are currently embarking on. What it means is that it will improve our GDP data. And so when we report GDP data to you after the rebasing, we'll be reporting GDP data that are more, shall I say, accurate in relation to what is on the ground. So that's how I would like to take this question. And then you had two main questions which related to children. The first one was the children who participated in mobile business or open space business. Those children, are they going to school? Are we able to tell whether they went to school? And also, there's a question with regards to the same children, whether they did the work during school hours. I think those are the two main questions. I'll defer these two to my technical team as well. So over to you, please.
Thank you, GS. Initially, I thought you had answered the questions. So as the government assistant said, each of our survey and census programs have focus. And so, and especially in censuses, we don't usually ask so many questions, especially these people who are on the move. They are mobile, and you want to spend how many hours to ask this question? They will not mind you. And so that is number one. Number two, because it wasn't, as I said, the focus wasn't child labor. If it were to be child labor survey, then we'll go into details as to their educational levels and whether they were combining school with work and stuff like that. And so occasionally we do survey on child labor. And so that is where you find some of these details.
Specifics,
The specifics, yes.
Yeah.
The question on whether there was a combination of mobile and open space, as GS said, here we were trying to look at each establishment as an independent unit.
Okay.
And so we were counting the individual establishments. And so there was no question asking whether there was a combination of these activities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So largely, if I should summarize this question, we didn't have a question to operators or business operators as to whether they were both in mobile businesses and open spaces. We didn't ask that question, so we are not able to give you that number. Secondly, we didn't ask questions to the children who participated in these businesses. So we didn't ask questions with regards to whether they were in school, as at the time the survey or they participated in this. So we are not able to tell you that. And there was also another question you asked as to whether we were able to capture the education status. So we didn't ask that question, and so we are not able to report that to you as well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think there is a...
Yes. So, quick one. Based on the data that you collected, I don't know, are we able to tell the total value of this, two separate, categories, open space businesses and mobile business? Are we able to tell the value involved? Because you've been able to give us those who earn, 100 cedis or low and above, at least 500 cedis. Are we able to tell the total value? And then also on the mobile businesses, for instance, did you do any categorization in terms of possibly those who sell in traffic? Because we also want to know the traffic economy, for instance, and those who just hover around neighborhoods and just sell.
Okay. So, okay, is that all? Or we take some more? Yes.
Look, since you didn't speak to this issue, I don't know whether it was also captured.
Okay.
With respect to their contribution to revenue.
Contribution to revenue.
Yeah,
yes,
if you found out what they make to government revenue with respect to taxes, if not, what can the government do to take advantage of this sector of the economy in a way that will not put pressure on their little earnings?
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there any other? All right.
I think this is the last one. I think for the tree, it was well understood because I saw our ODI fellow nodding there when they sang. So it means that it was well understood. Thank you.
So in other words, if she understood, then everybody. Thank you very much. Okay, so total value. Fortunately, we were able to ask questions in relation to how much they earn, like per hour, or how much they earn, like per day. So we're able to give those figures. But you have to do some projections or estimates to be able to put that together in terms of maybe what, if you multiplied all of these by the number of operators, and then you can get an estimate. That total estimate, we have to do some estimate to give that to you. And then secondly, like Dr. Keja mentioned earlier, because this was a census, IBES, you don't want to ask too many questions. If you need to do a special purpose survey to bring out whether they were paying taxes, etc., you can do that. And then that can give you some more detailed information. So our questionnaire did not go into such questions. And remember that tax questions are very sensitive. So if, for example, you design a survey or you are undertaking a census for a specific purpose, and the purpose is not necessarily revenue, you are careful not to ask questions like that, because otherwise people will jump into conclusion that you are doing the survey for purposes of revenue. But the Ghana Statistical Service, I can assure you that when we do a survey or census, it is purely for statistical purposes. So we can give you that assurance. Of course, they may have implications and policy interventions or policy may respond to some of the findings. But then that's for other actors to pick and to run with that. And then you ask a third question as to whether we are able to disaggregate the workers into whether mobile or open space. I think mobile, you asked about mobile. Yeah. Whether we're able to disaggregate into those who are doing in traffic and then those in other areas. I'll defer to my team. But I'm already getting signals that we didn't make that decision.
No.
Okay, that's right. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. If you have any further question, you can contact the team, Dr. Keja and his team. We are grateful for your presence, and next week we'll...
Good morning. You're family and if you're for Onia TV. Pacho, wait to abide for wait to banks for now. More than your mark, the one cash and trouble.
So, okay. Ejuma ya ye, me to a band for, and I year to a band for, na year to private sector for. But in fact, I want to Nzamanos year to one for. But Ebia ya kind of direct. And one day, most of them were women, were mba, no, most of them so were nkola. Inti ekave, I want to wear nkola no. Ghana mbra o maho kwan de ya kwala to some age na every year them ejuma no ntia ka de them kwala no abanhwe na child protection laws are all around them, yeah, enforced. Don't assume na civil society so one boa. But nkwala no so them nkwala na where the medjuma no. Ye kasa atre one parent. That's if they have parents. Even when the parents po a want nkasa yenhwe na one ma school ko nye bibia obeda weni ado a obeko school bom rather than obeye them mobile businesses. Now secondly, the mukrofa where the medjuma yi. Ehun de business de or your business. Na eye business bia so a epe kwan a ebe fado a business no be kwa enim. Na for your business to progress, or then your training. Nti ye kasa atre won there. Aya one share na training bi wo baby na bia NGO bi ma training. Ana aban rema training wo e bia local assembly ho. Another be a civil society organization say once a while what in my training. Aya mama wonka de me training me could be and them intimate tanazi. Wonja at the tone na won call them training. Na them training no betima aboa but one business no work with papa. For example, aya training what me tre mensima ebe manage wusikasem. And I mensima ebe ya ebit me customers more. Nti aya dema one away the minjuma no so. One share na one team 1 year them training nibi. Na third, as some of you catch one there. And when them mobile businesses see, unfortunately, environmental under which way the major man, sometimes them environment or a hash kaka. Because when our open space is there, space near open. Now when I want to num so and traffic, I'm sure a car alcohol. And I'm sure will be be bicycle or alcohol. Inti yebeka cha one there. Yes, ejuma na worry ye. Na the medjuma no so na omo won sika kakra. Na omo won offended livelihood. But at the same time, when you're careful kakra, na one hwe won hu ye so that it doesn't result in fatalities. But at the same time, you catch a ban both at the central level, now at the local level. Na yenhwe na yenfe bibia ntutu ye. Na infrastructure, you able provide markets, you able provide electricity, you able provide the abuanko freema, one business, CCA YMA, CCA when you closed spaces rather than open spaces, so that one business is never quitting. That's a fire. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you once again. So next week, God willing, be watching our social media space and website. You see the Prime Building Cost Index for February. And also want to draw your attention that if you happen to maybe have made some of our releases, we have a publication that we call a monthly wrap. If you go to our website, you go to under publication, under papers, you will see that monthly wrap. We have up to February. And in the at the end of the quarter, we do a policy brief. You find all these in our website. So we're watching our website space and social media space for some of this. We thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.